Are you a nerd, jock, goth, or prep? We love to categorize ourselves. So much that a lot of our pop psych discourse is involved with putting everyone into different categories, based off of aesthetics, beliefs, and vibes. I've even made one myself. A popular one is the nerd, jock, goth, prep diagram. Now you may have already heard of this one before, but in case you need a recap, there are 4 categories that each represent a stereotype of how one acts, what they care about, and what they look like, usually in the context of adolescent school life. So think school during the ages of 10 to 17. So let's briefly explain each of the categories. Nerds are seen as book smart. They care about studying or playing video games, and probably have glasses or are scrawny. Nerds may lack certain social skills or have difficulty in picking up certain emotional cues. Jocks are generally physically fit or are talented in a certain sport. They're seen as the least intelligent of the 4 categories, and don't worry too much about their outward appearance outside of getting jacked. Goths are usually seen in black, monochromatic, or complex wardrobes, and are emotionally sensitive. They can be artsy and care about their aesthetic, and how that allows them to display their personality. Preps are typically well-dressed, are conventionally attractive, and can be popular. They have a strong sense of social awareness and how they fit into their social hierarchy. So as you probably guessed, and is a running theme on this channel, there are some flaws with this original diagram and some of the definitions. The first one is how it puts nerds to be diametrically opposed to jocks. We have plenty of evidence to suggest that being smart and being physically fit aren't opposites. They very much can go hand in hand. So while remaking this diagram, I changed the position of all 4. Now nerds are side by side with jock, goth is at the bottom left, and prep is bottom right. So I want to add things to each category. Let's talk about intelligence. I argue that intelligence is flexible for each category. Nerds can be book smart or knowledgeable on a niche topic like video game lore. Jocks are intelligent in their field of sport or in the ability to dedicate themselves to training. Goths are knowledgeable in the arts, in the field of fashion, the occult, or alternative music. Preps can be book smart, be fashion savvy, and have social awareness. Each of these categories are talking about some type of identity plus an aesthetic. So the first axis going from top to bottom has to do with values. I view nerds and jocks to value things externally. For nerds, this can be getting good grades or improving at a game, and for jocks, it can be making the varsity team or lifting heavier weights. The fulfillment that each side gets from their interests seems to be focused away from themselves. Not that either side doesn't get enjoyment for the sake of dedicating themselves to something, but it seems more dependent on the things their interests can do for them. The reason I conclude that these two stereotypically butt heads is because they actually care about the same things. But only one of them, the jock, falls into the conventionally attractive and has the so-called normal hobbies, like sports or drinking. So how does this contrast with the lower categories? Well, this means goths and preps relate over how they value things internally. For both the goth or prep, this can be fully embracing their aesthetic in their wardrobe, art, or mindset. Even though their looks can oppose one another, there's plenty of overlap with how they care about things. The difference, of course, being what it is they actually value. Goths value freedom of expression and going against cultural norms and standards. And preps value tradition and following the cultural zeitgeist when it comes to how one should behave. And this leads right into the horizontal axis. This relates the categories to the one that sits above or below it. I'm calling this inclusivity and conformity. On the left side, nerds and goths can relate over going against the standard of what one's interests should be, or how one should present themselves. The overlap being niche interests like cosplay or alternative lifestyle choices and dress. Nerds, notably, aren't known to care too much about what they wear or are more interested in the function of their clothes, and showing off what they like through graphic tees. This is additionally why I think nerds and goths tend to group together or even date each other because of similar value structures. And on the right side, jocks and preps conform to what society perceives to be the appropriate way to behave or what is acceptable. These things are usually playing sports, being socialites, being wealthy, etc. Like nerds, jocks don't care too much about how they dress, but they can get away with it as being in better physical shape can make you look better to the average person. Just like with the other pair, this is why I take it that jocks and preps can date easier, as they hold the same values and beliefs. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that there aren't couples that cross diagonally or horizontally to some degree, but I feel it's less common due to misaligned values or not complementing the other's identity. But I digress. So to finish this chart, I decided to expand it into this. We now have a 6x6 grid showing each of the subtypes within the major categories. I'm not going to read them all, so feel free to pause to see them if you'd like. This has the ones in the corners being the most extreme versions of the 4, and with the ones in the center showing something that I hadn't discussed during the course of the video. What if you feel like you overlap with multiple categories? Sometimes you're a jock, or sometimes you're a nerd, or even a goth depending on the day. Or what if you don't really feel like you belong anywhere? That sense of isolation can manifest itself into feeling like an outsider to any of the categories, leading the middle to become its own section. I'd argue that my diagram is better understood as a radar chart to each of these corners. So if you think of yourself in a group comprised of these types, how well would you fit in? Maybe like this, or even this. Truthfully, this diagram and any personality chart you see online are oversimplifications of complex societal structures, genetic variation, and combinations of individuals' upbringing and socialization. While these charts are fun to speculate where we may fall within them, keep in mind that life isn't really as simple as a high school or college clique. And regardless of who acts or looks popular, what really matters is being around people who value the things that you do and make you feel happy to be who you are. So that being said, what are your thoughts? Where do you think you would categorize yourself among these four? I look forward to what you have to say, and if you like the video, leave a like and subscribe.